I told Rabbi Yitzchak to give my mekaymis on it because originally I said, we'll just finish it in Beis and finish the Siman and then Bez Hashem go to Basis. But I see that you should see Sifn and Beis. And in the Mishabura, it's quite short. In the Mishabura, it's quite short. But in the Sigas, it's quite big. So let's see what we get through. Today, most of the item, I think, has finished the test. And, Mustama, we'll do today these Marmakoimis on Nun Beis, and then Bez Hashem, Sunday. If we finish today, go to buses. But if not, Sunday, I hope to be able to start already buses, which shouldn't test. So, but let's see. There's some topics from the Sifim here. Let's see. Mem Tes, Shulchan Aruch Mem Ches. Sorry. Mutal etaltel menifa b'Shabbos lavriach hazvuvim. You're allowed on Shabbos to be metaltel a fly swatter. So the Mishnah Berurah says this fly swatter. What is it? It's a klishim lachta li'eser. Now, Grada, this is another raya to what we spoke about, that at this point in the Siman, when the Paiskim say the word muksa or not muksa, it's not muchach what they mean. It's not muchach that they mean. When they say the word non-muksa, it could be that it means it's still a klishim lachta li'eser. When they say it's muksa, it could be also klishim lachta li'eser. It gets confusing. It does sound like at the end of the Siman over here, whenever they say the word not muksa, they still might possibly mean klishim lachta li'eser. This, of course, is the biggest raya. The Mishnah Berurah says a fly swatter is not muksa. The hainu is like the Mishnah Berurah. It's not muksa machmas gufay. The definition of muksa, like we spoke out many times, is muksa machmas gufay. Klishim machtal yeser is gzeres kalim. So Mishnah Berurah says, that, like any malachta yeser, you're allowed to move around. Any malachta yeser, the mutal etaltel l'tzarech gufay. Mishnah Berurah says you can be metaltel l'tzarech gufay. Sorry. Excuse me. Oh, so the shayla is that what's the pshat? Why is a fly swatter? I called it a fly swatter. The truth is that that's not what it says in the Shulchan Aruch. It says, what does the English Mishnah Berurah say? It says, lahavriach zvuvim, the fly pusher, stupper, what is it called? What? Fanner, the fly fanner. Fly, it says swatter? That's not the pshat. Lahavriach zvuvim. When you want to be mavriach zvuvim, you don't kill them, because then you have them all faswadded on your faswatter. Nobody would, when you go like this, lahavriach, it sounds like lahavriach is talking about that you push them away, and then they go away. That's it. They were shtickle gilgal, and then they had to bother you, and then they come back, and that's it. But so what does it say? But the Mishnah Berurah says over here, it's a malachta liyaseh. The Mishnah Berurah would be mashma that it's a swatter, right? Because is there any issue on Shabbos to take a fly swatter and to push it away? It's a tiltal minatzad. You're indirectly moving it. L'tzarech what? L'tzarech you. It's probably a davar shel mutter. A fly pusher is a davar shel mutter. Just a moment. So the Shevet Levi in Gimel Lamed Aleph, he says, so then I don't understand the Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah is a pella, because why does Mishnah Berurah say it's a klish machtal yeser? It should say it's a klish machtal heter. In other words, I'll say it in my language. Why did the Mishnah Berurah assume that we're talking about a swatter? Well, maybe he's talking about just this thing that you had that pushed away the flies, and therefore the Shevet Levi says it would be a klish machtal heter. Is it such a big kasha? It depends on the mitzias, I guess. I mean, my shot is like, it's such a big kasha. Mistama, the pshat is that most of the time the usage of these things is oimid to swat. That's what it's oimid for, and that's it. So now on Shabbos, you're not swatting, so it is a klish machlis. I don't know, it's the biggest kasha in the world. I was trying to figure out what's bothering the Shevet Levi over here. I was thinking like this. Maybe the pshat is like this: that let's say you have who here has a fly swatter? It's hard to talk to somebody that doesn't have one. Anybody have a fly swatter? Yeah. Okay. So now, and you don't have one of those fancy electric ones. I mean, like a swatter, right? Okay. So now the question: how many did you murder? All the time? What? No, I'm saying a lot of times you probably try and probably you lose. No? Yeah, you probably miss. You think it's like half the time or a third? From Chicago, like that. I'm afraid to start with. But how many times? Does anybody know? Does anybody count? No? Anybody know? What? You know? No. I think I'm like 1 for 2 in my swattage, right? So what is that? Does that mean that it's oimid for murder? Let's say I'm trying to murder him and I'm not being matzliach. Right? I'm trying to murder. Wait, so no, it's like this. A third of the time you're trying to just go like this. A third of the time you're trying to murder him, and a third of the time you're not successful to murder him. You actually, So I don't know. Mistama, it's oimid to kill, right? Mistama, it's oimid is for murder. And that's mistama. So mistama, that's the pshat in Mishnah Berurah, that it's taka a fly, mistama. I don't know. And my question is like this. My question is that what happens if you buy it and You're mamish begeder racham of kol ma'asav, and you try not to kill them. You just try to go like this. Rabbeinu HaKadosh, he would, tell the mice to, just be good to he told the Amsel to be Rebbe to be good to the mice and everything. So maybe let's say that you were oimid and you never kill with your swatter. So then it doesn't matter that on my swatter it says the word swat, and there's a picture of a crushed dead. That's what it is, right? A crushed dead looks like a maggot. Right, so the fact that they said that, does that make it into a imid to murder? Mistamid, you could be miyachid not for that. So I don't know. I think most of us are trying to kill, and therefore mistamid by most of us, the Pashut Pshat in the Mishabura is correct. The Hainu by us is a klishim machlekes. It's just an interesting machlekes. That's the char. What do you want to ask? No, good. We got through all the studying basically, right? You're a murderer or no? No, you let them live. So then by you understand the Shevet Levi. By you, it would probably be a klishim machlekes. As I come to it. That's Sif Memcha. Sif Memcha. Sorry? Sorry? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. I guess not like that. I don't know. I know. Like that. This is all the problem. Okay. So how do the other one to learn? I'm saying the Mishmur says first that it's a Kishmak the Yeser. What's the Yeser? Mistama the Yeser is that you murder it. No, Mistama. Right? What? No, Mistama, that's what I have to say. Mistama the pshat is that it's only to murder. Mistama, as I don't say. You guys are good people, but Akapanim, that's Sif Memchas. No, it's interesting. It's interesting Sif over here. Sif Memtes is machbeitis shamachabdim b'makarka mutal taltalim. If you have these like some type of a broom that they sweep the floor with, it's mutal taltalim. What does mutal taltalim mean over here? Oh, so over here again, just like I said before. You don't know what it means, mutter l'taltal. Sometimes the word mutter l'taltal means mutter gansim. Sometimes it means it's a klishmak l'yisr. It's a very big pell over here that the Shulchan Aruch wrote it in a way where you're going to need a Mishnah Berurah in order to figure it out. It's a pellet, but anyways, that's what it says. So the Mishnah Berurah right away says you should know this is an old machlekes between the Ramah and the Shulchan Aruch. And this is machlekes Mitzvah Shem we'll probably learn an Andra Mol, which is, are you allowed to sweep the floor on Shabbos? That's sweep the floor in Shabbos. So the Mishnah Berurah says, when the Shulchan Aruch says that a broom, this is a modern day language, it's called a broom. When the Shulchan Aruch says that a broom is not muksa, the Shulchan Aruch is l'shitasai, that it's taka not muksa, because in Shitna Mitzayin, the shita of the Shulchan Aruch is that if you have a floor broom, you have a broom for the floor, and your floor is tiled, your floor is not paved, so then we don't make a gzeira of paved to unpaved. We don't say, oh, if you're going to come to sweep the floor when it's paved, you're going to come to sweep the floor when it's not paved. We don't make such a gzeira. And if your floor is paved, you're allowed to sweep the floor. That's a sheet of the Shulchan Aruch. And therefore, you're allowed to sweep the floor. You're allowed to sweep the floor. Im kain it's a malachta leheter, and you can move it. Chamel itself. But Mashain came to Ramah, says the Mishnah Berurah over there. Ramah has merutzif is also. The Ramah sheet is that if even tiled floors is also, Atu, that you're going to come to sweep in a non-tiled floor. In Kain, it's a klishah machal yes. And the mela, it's only mutal tzar gufa mekaymai. That's the sheet of Mishnah Berurah. I mean, Mishnah Berurah one time he walked into a house and he saw it was paved and he wouldn't walk in. He saw mamish all this wasted money. All this wasted geld. This could have gone for Torah, it could have gone for Limra Torah, it couldn't go for Svarim, because Mishnah Berurah was against buying Svarim also. He felt that was also wasted money. But Akapanim, it could have gone for Aniyim, and it could have gone for all types of Zachem. And here you are buying tiles, he wouldn't walk into the house. He wouldn't walk in. But that's the Maisa. So Mishnah Berurah very much understood. A paved floor was very alive by Mishnah. In the world that we live in today, the Paiskim say, Mishnah Berurah already says, let's say you live in a world that is kulai paved. So then there's no makom for Gzeira, Merutzif, Atueina Merutzif, because there's no house that's not paved. There's no house not paved. And Memela, it becomes the Kumtaisa say, a broom everywhere in the entire, every house broom is a Kalisha Malachta Leheta Hagam that somebody told me that there's a Rav in Mount Daphne that said that a broom is muksa. It's very, very strange. Later, somebody misunderstood him, but that's what somebody told me later. But you can't believe everything you hear. You should never believe everything. But Akapanim, somebody said that. It doesn't make sense. Akapanim, a regular broom, in a house broom, is a klisha malachta leheter, because it's only for heter. Why are you allowed to sweep the floor? Because even though you're moving around muksa, So, but I don't know, we're going to talk about tiltum and tzad, it's indirect movement of the muksa, the makim, graf shel rei, kavod Shabbos, whatever you want to say, but we know it's mutter to sweep the floor. The only question we don't know is how you're allowed to take it up in the sweeper, in the dustpan, and that when it's a Shabbos, we'll see test, we'll have to figure out why. But akapanim, you're certainly allowed to sweep the floor on Shabbos, and therefore the broom is a kli shemata heter. If you have an outside broom, I got to have an outside broom. Right? It gets confusing. We'll see in a moment. Sometimes the outside broom becomes the inside broom. It gets a little confusing. But if you have an outside broom, which is yuchad for the outside, that's a big problem. And again, you have to learn, you have to know halacha in order to know muksa. But reg, I know that there's an isser of sweeping outside, and that broom is miyuchad for sweeping outside. There's an isser to sweep outside because there are outsides which are not paved. So even if you have a paved outside, we make exera. That for sure we make exera of marutzev to ein marutzev. And therefore, you're never allowed to sweep outside. If you're not allowed to sweep outside, so then what's your broom which is oimet to sweep outside? That's a klish ma'at of yetzer. And you can't say, well, I'm using it to sweep. That's exactly what you're not allowed to do. So the mela, that's going to be a klish ma'at of yetzer, which is aser l'tzayrech. Which will be mutter only it's from the koyma, and it won't be mutter for any time. I got it last week when it was mamish pouring. It was last Friday night. Right? It was not Friday Shabbos day. One of those times. No, Friday night. Yeah, Friday night. It was mamish pouring. And there was a broom that was outside my house, and it was kept on whacking. It was in a certain way that it kept whacking against the window. Right? At first, I thought there was like bad guys thinking of him, and then my wife went to check, and she saw that it wasn't. It was just a broom. Right? So now it's a kli. So what is it? It's whacking against. What is that? It's a kli shemachli iser. Is that called tzarech makoymai? That it's ruining the makim. What? It's a big yichus. What? It's ruining the makim. It's ruining the makim. It's ruining the makim. It's a kli shemachli iser. Let's tzarech the makim. I'm just saying this is this exists. It really exists. These types of you have to come on to this. It's kli shemachli iser. It's tzarech the makim. I guess the makim over there was being ruined. It's a chiddush. It's a little bit of a chiddush. It's an interesting chiddush. It's nothing we saw before. The oilam was very quick to answer, which I appreciate, but it's not so simple. In other words, till now we spoke about tefillin in a bedroom because you can't have tashmish. That means it's a makim. This makim where the tefillin is getting ruined. Here, it's not ruining the makim where the broom is. It's ruining in the house. The stomach doesn't make a difference. I'm saying what? It is ruining. It was annoying. What? Right, but it makes this makim unusable. I was sitting there and learning. It made it very unpleasant to learn. What? Oh, so that we spoke about. That we spoke about. That that's a very good question. That we spoke about that klape gufay. We saw Mishnah Berurah that if you can avoid it, you have to avoid it. By makoymai, we saw that in the kuda that we don't have to avoid the makim. We spoke out the whole lumdis back then because this is my tzarech. My tzarech is this makim. So we never said you can't have your tzarech. That's a good point. But akapanim, stomach you could move it. Anyways, what's the ma'isa? Yeah, okay, that's that. Okay, l'chaya. That's that. Okay, Siv Nun. Good, Clark. Again, a lot of these things are by like you just have to know halacha. Once you know halacha, you know muksa. I saw one sefer he writes a peeler is muksa. I saw another sefer he says the peeler is not muksa. Right? Obviously, their machlekes is not in hilchos muksa. Their machlekes is in hilchos peelers. Right? This one holds that the Ramosha held that you're allowed to use a peeler on Shabbos, so therefore it's a klish malachtai leheter. Klish malachtai ticker function is leheter, so therefore it's not muksa. And the other sefer holds a peeler on Shabbos is a problem of boirer, and therefore there are oifanim you could use it. You can make chocolate shavings out of it because that's not boirer. That's toichin, which is mutter because ain't toichin nachat toichin or whatever. But upon the point being that you'd be able to only use it klish malachtai yeser l'tzayrech gufay. I need to use the peeler to do something permitted. Right? But it's again, I'm not going to go through every case in the world, but I mean, we did already anyways. But the point is, you're always trying to figure out what's the halacha in the 39 malachas, in whatever. And then afterward, you apply it to muksa. Does it become a klish mantel yeser? That's the chayra. That's the chayra. Now, it's a Siv Nun. What's this? Harashba matir l'taltel in astrolab. The Rashba allows you to carry around an astrolab. Sounds like a park in Coney Island. What is this thing? Astrolab. What? That's astrolabe. No, there's an astrolabe. What's an astrolabe? What is it? You guys know what it is? What is it? What kind of dial? It's not a telescope. She's not a telescope. A telescope wasn't invented in the time of the Rashba. Galileo. Sorry? Yeah, so that's so I looked into it. Some say like that. Some say it was just like a very primitive telescope. It was like just basically like, you know, the roll after you finish with the toilet paper, You know, all the kids do all types of Zachin. Why are you smiling? That it seems to be that's all it was, you know. And some say like you, and some say like that. But Al Kapanim, the Rashba was makel that you could use this fellow on Shabbos. The Kain Sifrei Chachmas. Now something's weird here. The Kain Sifrei Chachmas. Ula das Rambam yesh l'stapik badavar. What's this astrolabi? And he says this is totally in an old fight. Dainu, the Mishnah Berurah and Siman Shin Zayin and Tzivkot and Samach Beis. I just made that up. Is that true? Yeah, it's true. The Mishnah Berurah and Siman Shin Zayin Tzivkot and Samach Beis. Mishnah Berurah says anything that you can't read on Shabbos that becomes muksa, right? You have a shtar, you have a document or whatever, right? Some type of shtar or some whatever. All these things. Everybody knows that. You know, you get a parking ticket. That's a what's it called? That's a very good example of a shtar dioitis and whatever. So therefore it becomes muksa on Shabbos. It's a document, a check, and this and all that. So Mishnah Berurah says, the kol she'asel likros, asel l'taltel. Anything that you can't read, you're not allowed to move around. That's the pasha. That's what it says over here. But comes again. This halacha, so now it's tali in the halacha over there. What's the halacha about reading books of chachma? So that's a fight. Vish the Rambam, and I call it the Ashkenazim, right? Ashkenazim hold that you're allowed to read things of chachma. What's called chachma? Is it math and whatever we spoke about back then? It's called chachma. I think we spoke about this anyway. And whatever is called chachma, the Ashkenazim hold you're allowed to read, and the Sephardim hold you're only allowed to read on Shabbos Torah, nothing else, only Torah. So therefore, the Rambam that holds that you're not allowed to read, let's say a math book, I don't know. So then according to the Rambam, you're not going to be allowed on Shabbos to carry it around. It becomes muksa. According to the Ashkenazim, that you're allowed to read these things in Shabbos, a medical journal or whatever. So according to the Rambam, it's muksa. According to the Ashkenazim, which we pass like that, it's not going to be muksa. And that's, even though the Mishnah Berurah brings in Ali Rabbah that the Yerushalayim is machmer, but for Shteitzach, it doesn't make it into muksa. Okay, so the astrolab, whatever this thing is, he says, came lahabit ba'astrolab. It's a cliche chayzim ba'yakachavim, stargazing thing or whatever. So he says, efshir it should be also, and then he brings the gra that the Rambam would matter at betiltel. The gam be'inyan limud mitzadir kishitas harashba. Okay, so nice. Tachlis correct. A telescope. Hard for me to understand. Why in the world would there even be a tzad that according to the Rambam it would be aser? What does that have to do with the Rambam? The Rambam held that you're not allowed to read anything on Shabbos except for Torah. The Rambam held you're not allowed to do anything on Shabbos except for Torah. There's two different decisions. One is the Rambam held you can't read anything on Shabbos except for Torah. I hear because I'll do shtar dioitis to make zeres and whatever. But the Rambam held you can't do anything on Shabbos except for Torah. You can't hack. I mean like good hack, not like bad hack, right? You can't like hack on Shabbos. Then it's true. On Shabbos you're not supposed to speak as much or whatever. So fine, so I won't speak. I'll just look at my telescope. But what's the tzad b'chal? If you look at the goyim, it sounds a little bit like that. The goyim doesn't understand what went on here. He says, why should the Rambam have a problem with I'm calling it a telescope for all intents and purposes. A telescope, binoculars. Allah L'maisa, it's not negay at Ashkenazim. Anyways, it's all kuloi mutter on Shabbos. Sorry? Yeah, okay, but then anything in the world is I can't pick up a cup on Shabbos. It's the problem with what? You mean because you're gonna walk? But that's a whole new gzeira. That's a whole new gzeira. That's a whole new gzeira. What? No, it's not a telescope. I'm just saying that there's no difference. He's not talking about a telescope. They didn't have one. Galileo. That was he's before the Baal Shem Tov. What? But he's not before the Rambam. But a telescope, binoculars, all these things in Shabbos are mutter gam. I think even for Svardim. And l'chayra does it. Does it Siv Nun Aleph? What? I'm telling you, somebody actually called me about this in the summertime. He's all into, he got like a very expensive binoculars, a telescope, a very expensive telescope, and this and that, and whatever. And he asked me, is there a gzeira because it has like a special light on it or something? And so he asked me, is there a problem because he might come to turn on the light? That was his shot. I told him maybe there's a problem in using the binoculars. No, that's not my question. But no, but the chayr there's no problem. Yeah. You were the one that asked me? Oh, that's right. Right. And I told you it's fine. Yeah, I told you it's fine. To use the binoculars. Yeah. Dark God, you should put them away now. But yeah, I can find them. That's no, Taka is. There's nothing wrong with using binoculars on Shabbos. There's nothing. So I think if you ask like somebody who's not so from, you ask him, you allowed to use binoculars on Shabbos? No, for sure not. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things that for sure, no, that for sure not. Right? No, for sure. Right? You allowed to drive a car? There's some machmer, but binoculars are nicht. You hear what I'm saying? I don't know why, but I have this feeling. I'm right. Go and Do studies. Let's find out afterwards. Just go over to people like random in the street. You know, use binoculars on Shabbos, right? How's the Shabbos? So, Sifin and Aleph. Okay. So this we spoke about Sifin and Aleph. Mashem Moira ala Shoyes. I told you the whole story of the Goyim and whatever. We spoke about this. But anyways, Mashem Moira ala Shoyes. Shekarin Ariluzoi. Ariluzoi. Bein shu chayil, bein shu shall mean acher. Yeshel stapik its mutter, and the minig is to aser. This is very scary. It sounds like over here that you're not allowed on Shabbos to use an hourglass. That's what this thing is, right? Moira Shah seems to be like an hourglass. I think that's how the Mishabur explains it, no? It's like an hourglass over here. Who klishim emalin b'chayil, and the sand goes there. An hourglass is also, this has to do again, like I keep saying, once you know Hilchas Medida, you know Hilchas this, you know Hilchas that, so then you know, so you're not allowed on Shabbos to measure. There's an Isser on Shabbos to measure for the purpose of business, and there's an Isser on Shabbos to measure regular, even up to that. In other words, you're not allowed to do any medidas on Shabbos because measuring is one of the very normal processes that's done in a business type setting. And therefore, Chazal asked medida on Shabbos. We spoke about this medida b'makam mitzvah's mutter, what goes into medida b'makam mitzvah, v'chule v'chule. So therefore, to take your temperature generally is a mitzvah. Manashach, if you're taking it because you're sick, it's a mitzvah to be showing your health. I'm not talking about electric, obviously. If you're taking your temperature because you want to know if she's ovulating or whatever, so it's also a mitzvah, peruvu, etc. So it becomes a medida shel mitzvah. It doesn't have a tzuras bichlal of a medida of a mekach memker. And Memele Chazal never asked it. But over here, Chazal asked it in hourglass because it's some type of a medida, some type of medida. And this Mishabura brings down Kuf Samach Zayin. He brings down that he says das is muksa, dami la medida says Zman or Tzel. It's a malach al yetzer. It's a malach al yetzer. He says Sarah Gufa Mekayim his mother. He doesn't mean you can go and use it to actually use it, because that's doing the Yetzer of Medida. It means you need to take it and do something with it, or you'll be allowed to do it. That's why I'm not going to be Meirich on these Sifim, because they're all Pasha. But then I saw something very interesting. In the Ma'oira Eish, and it's in Aleph Beis Gimel Daled. That's what I have here. Perik Aleph, and actually Siman Aleph, Perik Beis, Anof Gimel, Ois Daled. Just remember that, Aleph Beis Gimel Daled, right? It's like the jackpot. So the Rosh Zman over there in the beginning, in Aleph Beis Gimel Daled over there, he talks about this halacha. Mar H was written by Rosh Zman when he was a younger man. He was mamish about 28 years old, and he wrote a sefer on the most difficult topics. This is before any sforim were written about it. Chashmal, electricity. Chaim Moiser looked at the sefer. Orbach, who's this Orbach? Told him he's a younger man. Yerushalayim, he's Yanim Zazin. Chaim Leib, I think. One day he's going to be the leader of Klal Yisrael. One day. He looked at the Sefer at 28. He read it in about half an hour. He also gave him a skama or something like that. But Shlomo Zalman in that Sefer is not just a Chashmal Sefer. He just, it's everything. It's unbelievable. You see what a person, unbelievable. But anyways, so over there, Shlomo Zalman says that in the olden days, Shlomo Zalman is very bothered about this halacha. He says, an hourglass, you just like, what are you doing? You're just like trying to see if an hour went by because you want to know, did you learn for an hour? And you got this amount of mitzvahs or whatever. So Shlomo Zalman says that in the olden days, and Shlomo Zalman was in the olden days, right? It makes sense that he would know about the olden days more than you. So Shlomo Zalman said in the olden days, an hourglass was something that was really miyuchad for Mekach HaMemker. That's what he writes. He says it was miyuchad for Mekach HaMemker. In other words, it was a normal thing in the business process, I guess. Does anybody have an example of this? Like, do you want to see how long a guy worked for or something? I don't know. He says it was normal that it was used in Mekach HaMemker. So he says, by us, we don't even have a musig of an hourglass that has anything to do with business. So he wants to say, it's a Rizig Chiddush. He says that therefore, that's why there's someone's going on a watch. He's coming to say, don't from here think that if you see over here the aserd, an hourglass, we spoke about this back then, but now I'm explaining it in the Sif, but don't think that if they aserd an hourglass, they're going to ask you from having a watch, and that a watch is going to be a klish ma'akliyas. He says that's minanimda. A watch is nothing to do. Nobody has a watch. Like the Gemara says, "Ein lecha adam she'ein lo shah." There's no person that doesn't have time. It means it's a malitza. It means he doesn't have a good time. So he has good mazel. So the Rosh Hashanah writes, "Ein lecha adam she'ein lo shah." There's not a person that doesn't have a watch, and nobody has a watch for business purposes. And nobody has a watch for his time has a watch to know what time it is. It became a part of our normalcy. So what? That's the need then over here. What's this measuring? There's also measuring just the time. No, it's not. It's measuring. It's not measuring sand. It's measuring the time. No, it's not. It's measuring the amount of time that's gone by.
Yeah, by going
Well, we spoke about it back then. You're saying a different term. Rosh Zman says a different word. Rosh Zman says because it's not a medida, because the Isser of medida it is a medida. Rosh Zman going, it is a medida. Rosh Zman says, but it's not a medida which is connected in the slightest to Mekach Memker, and therefore Chazal never answered it, which is a chiddush, because I told you before that Chazal answered all medidas up to the medida of Mekach Memker. The regular medidas they ask. So Rosh Zman means it's that the regular medida, like some tzuras of the nechol, this has no chol dikat tzura b'klal. That's what Rosh Zman. Just remember, Rosh Zman therefore said there's no isser of a watch at all, and obviously a regular clay medida, you have a measuring cup or something. So then it's a kli shemalach the isser. It's measured. Its purpose is to measure. You're allowed to use it tzarek guf m'koymai. If you need it as a pitcher or something like that, so tzarek guf m'koymai. But otherwise, it's going to be us. All the things we spoke about. What do you want to ask? What do you mean? What do you mean measure time? I guess the lumdus is like this. The lumdus is that a watch is so normal. That's how you read Rosh Hashanah, you get this heritage. A watch is so normal by us that nobody looks at it as something which is coming to measure something. It's so normal. I sort of felt like Rosh Hashanah was saying new rules by a watch. It can't be. A watch is something that everybody has a watch, and we're not mesiachis to it. Has anything to do with medida. I'd have to give you a whole share to explain to you why it's a medida. So Rosh Hashanah, you get the feeling from him. He's just like, this is one of the svars that, Rosh Hashanah did. What? You're asking kasha straight on the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch says not like that. The Shulchan Aruch says that when you take a sand dial, there's an isser of measuring time. The Shulchan Aruch says not like that. The truth is, the Achlein and that all are grappling with the Shulchan Aruch.
But it's measuring.
Right?
Not necessarily because it's time itself, but because it's measuring something.
There is a mahalach like that. I'm not going with that mouth. The mahalach out there, it says that the watch is not measuring time. It's just now this is the time. Now this is the time. Right? It's not exactly true because each 60 seconds is measuring another minute, and it's not exactly true.
I put a stick out, and I know that the sun after it shines after the stick, it's 5 o'clock. That's not even measuring. I just made like a simon. It's not measuring.
Your assumption is that measuring has to do with feet and rulers and inches and centimeters and whatever. I'm saying maybe it's measuring, measuring temperature also is something, right? So here also I went from here to here, right? Again, I'm not saying what you're saying doesn't exist, but the pashut pshat is not like that. The pashut pshat is that you're measuring time. But anyway, slow. Lemaisa, that's the chayra, right? A watch, the chayra is fine. Listen, v'nishvi, you do know, you don't know. It doesn't make a difference, right? Because everybody knows a watch is mutter. So the only question that we deal with when it comes to watches is the automatic watch, which even that they tell us if it's got enough juice from when Shabbos comes in, that's mutter, and some make it even without that. So by us, most of us, it's not going to change our lives, right? But let's see where there could be enough communal, right? So it's like this. So first of all, you have like this. Let's say you have a thermometer on the wall. Does anybody have that? Anybody have a thermometer on the wall? No, nobody has that. In the Haim, what? What? No, nobody has like in the Haim. I remember in the Haim there were people that had like a thermometer on the wall, like very interesting looking, right? So now you sometimes you want to take the thermometer to another room, right? You want to take it to another room, right? So that would be a problem, right? Because that's not a davar shel mitzvah. Now we're saying that measuring the only het there is because ovulation is a mitzvah or your sickness is a mitzvah. To stop look on the wall to see what the temperature is, there's no issue. You didn't do a ma'isa medida. You're allowed to look, right? There's no shmir seinayim on chesed medida. There's no, but okay. But so that's one case. Another case here, the Mishnah says like this. This is very interesting. Mishnah says in Siman Kuf Samach Ches, he says ubezeger shalanu yesh lahater. He says our watches you could be mako on. Okay, we don't know what he means, but that's what he says. He says v'dafka ketanim shekoyrin toshin hoyer aval agdoilim shekoyrin vund hoyer. So there's two types of grandfather clocks. Remember who had the grandfather clock? One is the one that just like stands on the floor, right? And then there's the one that's like hanging on the wall. And Mishnah says on both of these, he says, Yesh lahachmir betilto. It's very hard to read. He says, afilu the one that's on the floor, Yesh lahachmir im loylet soyrech mekoymai. What's this all about? I thought it's like a chasar and kiss, which by us probably it is, right? Most of us it's probably a cheshvan kiss because you're scared to move it. It's like a brake front. So most of us, anyways, you can't move it because you're scared. But the Mishnah says not like that. He says you're not allowed to move it. What's the lashon? You're allowed to move it l'tzarech makayma. So klish machlisser. Why in the world is a grandfather clock a klish machlisser? Anybody know? I have no idea. What? Okay, so is my watch. Now what?
You have to wind it up.
What? You have to wind up a watch also. That brings us to another shayla. What's the difference? A lot of places can take on. We didn't get to the sugya yet. When we get to a candle, we have to learn the sugya, Reish Ayin Tes, of a candle in general. But a lot of places can take on that a fan is a klisha malachta le'eser. Okay? What's the difference between a fan and a watch? I saw the Aruch HaShabbos is very bothered by this child. Well, what's the difference between a fan and a watch? No, thank you. Okay. What's the difference between a fan and a watch? A fan, what's the law on this? When a fan is on, it's the most wonderful thing in the world. It's a usable thing. It's the most wonderful thing in the world, right? And so is your watch, right? Elamai, but you have to turn on a fan. Okay, so my watch, I also have to start up my watch. I have to put in a battery, or I have to wind it or something, right? So what's the difference between a watch and a thing? Why is it that the ganze Welt takes on a watch is a klisha machtal hector, and the ganze Welt takes on that a fan is a klisha machtal yeser? We have to learn a fan in Mitzvah, but I think the Welt takes on that a fan is a klisha machtal yeser. Maybe there's a chiddush or a Moshe, whatever, but the Welt definitely takes on that a fan is a klisha machtal yeser. What's the difference? Both of them you have to start, and once it goes, so then it has a ma'isa shel hector, has a benefit of hector. So why don't we say that a fan is a klisha machtal hector, or why don't we say a watch is a klisha machtal yeser? What's going on? What? A what?
The battery operated fan is
That's a shayla. I'm saying it's a big shayla. No, it's not pashut at all. It's not pashut at all. It's not pashut. Not pashut. And most people take on that a fan is a klisha machtal yeser. I mean, we have to learn inside, but most places can take on it's a klisha machtal yeser. What?
Because that when you either wind the watch or put a battery in, it's going to go until.
Well, so the chiluk is bar. I mean, you have to say something like this. The shas why it's machalik, right? But the chiluk has to be that a fan, when you finish with it, you turn it off. Right? You know, a watch, when you finish with it, you throw it in the garbage, right? But you don't turn it off. There's no turn it off. You just rewind it and whatever. A fan, the pshat is that that's the whole shemush. It's to turn on and to turn off, to use it and to turn it off, and then to turn it back on. So the shemush is part and parcel of the chefza. The turning on is not just like a zaytig gezach. It's not like it's always on. Much ain't gonna watch. The way you mistach is to a watch is it's always on. And then when it breaks, when it stops, I either have to put in a battery or I have to. But I'm always trying to get it to just go. It's the turning on is something zaytig to the shemush. That's mistama what you have to say. I didn't yet kaveh masmerim about a fan. But that's mistama what you have to say. What's the nafkamina? I still don't understand what's the pshat in this Mishnah Berurah here. He talks about these grandfather clocks, and he talks about the ones that are hanging and the ones that are not hanging. And I don't know. I'm a little bit avoid. Am I reading it wrong? Dafka aktan v'gdodim karin v'undha'ir also taltal v'afilin oisay klishai sa'im to be table akarkei shak. I don't know. The first one, the gedolim, the big one. It sounds like it is also taltal. Legamre. He said that one's also a taltal. And he says, and then the one which is on the wall, I don't know, not the wall. I don't know what the saying is. It's in the teva. He says that one. What do you mean? Like a box on the wall or whatever. He says that one is only mutter klisha makli is a gufa mekaymai. He's hanging on the wall. I don't know what the case is. I don't know. Anyways, I don't know. I know one thing. I know by us when we have a grandfather clock. Probably a chesaron kiss because everybody's scared and people don't just move it. Sometimes it's a chesaron kiss. The one on the wall, these clocks on the wall. Okay, so that's an old fight. I said on day one, that's a huge fight between the Chazanish. Chazanish is in Mem Aleph, Sikot and Tazayin, and the Goyin Rav Moshe, the 21st Tshuva in the 5th volume in Oisid Gimel. Rav Moshe over there, Chafal Fi Gimel. Rav Moshe says something that's hanging on the wall because that's where you want it to be because that's its place. But not that you have any kpeder or any fear or anything. Ramosha said, that's not chesaron kiss. That's its place. That's no shaykhis. Chesaron kiss means that I put it in a place and I don't move it because of fear. Not that I put it in a place and don't move it because I want to be able to see it, right? So this clock over here, it's according to, now there's another fight in Hilchos Boina. There's another fight in Hilchos Boina, which is the same participants in the fight. Ramosha holds that that's not a part of the binyan. The binyan is the wall, and that thing is on the wall. It's on the wall. Just a moment. It doesn't become a part of the wall. It's not like, well, I mean, that's screwed in or whatever. What? It doesn't matter if it's meant to be moved. It's the pshat is that's not, it's something which is always going to be on the wall. That's Shavisi Hashem with the ganze menorah and everything. That's always going to be there. It's always going to be there. So Ramosha holds. So Ramosha, let's say that clock. So Ramosha holds. Mitzad being a part of the binyan, it's not a part of the binyan, it's on the binyan. We're going to learn this in Mitzvah Shem. But one moment, it's that's on the binyan. That's on the binyan. Mitzad muksa. So Moshe says, muksa, the pshat is the reason why the clock is there. It's not because you're careful and you're nervous and you're scared and you're whatever. The pshat is that's where I could see it. That's because otherwise, that's not the real, Stam Maimar Musgar. What's the reason why the clock is up there high like that? So the person who's not a lamdin, he says the pshat is because that way I could see it. Easier to see, right? That's the person who's not lamdin. Rav said, he was once talking about why you have to listen always to the Gedolei Ador. So Rav said that what's going to happen? He said it's not papal infallibility by us. It's not the pshat. The Pope is always right. That means you're driving down the street, and it's a one-way street, and there's a steamroller. The steam. What's it called? Right? Steamroller, and it's coming towards you, and you tell the Pope. The Pope said, make a left into here. Tell the Pope, it's nicht. It's a one-way street. He says, no, it's a mistake. It's not. Okay, he said, I'm the Pope. It's fine. Go. And then the steamroller, and then you have to peel the guy off. The terrible thing. You have to peel him off. So when they go to Shemayim, you're not dead. Because the Pope is never wrong. You didn't die. No. Right? So Rav Hutner says, that's not how it works with Gedolei Torah. The pshat is that by Gedolei Torah, the pshat is you can make a mistake. But he says like this. It's the chinuch says this. It's 99% of the time you're not going to make a mistake. So the chinuch says it's kedai to listen to Gedolim and tzaddikim and everything. Right? First of all, they'll get Siyat Shema anyways. But even on that one mistake, it's kedai to be soivel that mistake and that the system should go. Because otherwise the system will be in the hands of each and every person. So he tells it to a clock. He says the person is not a lamdan. He says, why is the clock up there? Clock up there so everybody can see it. But the lamdan says, because what would happen if the clock was low down? So every person that would walk past the clock, we'd say like this. Let's say there's Anshel, right? They say every Tom, Dick, and Harry. I say every Anshel, Zundel, and Herring, right? So Anshel walks by the clock, and he says, what? 4:35? Sugar, it's not 4:35, 4:36. Then comes the next Zundel. Comes Zundel. So, what? 4:36? Not 4:36. It's 4:34. That's machine. Turns over. Then you have that brisker fellow who doesn't change his clock, and because it's the Yoinim change their clock. So Mela, he comes and it's you come to the clock. It's 3:15, right? Well, so listen, leave the clock up high. 4:36. It's good to be soivel the mistake and that the system should go. Understand? How do we get into that? One second. It's very important things going on here. How do we get into that? So Mamela. So Ramosha tells you the clock on the wall is not be'etzim, a part of the wall. And says Ramosha, it's also not muksa because I'm not afraid. The Chazon Ish says not like that. The Chazon Ish in Mem Tes Tes Vav or Tes Zayin, what is it? Mem Aleph Tes Zayin. The Chazon Ish says two reasons why. Number one, if it's always there, then that becomes a part. That's a boyin shayla. I'm not talking about that. But then there's another thing. Stam, that clock there that's its makim. If you were miyached a makim and never move it, he learns a new type of muksa. Yichud makim is a new type of muksa. Mishabru is not like that, right? Because Mishabru talked about things that we don't move. And he said, even though you never move it, it depends. If you don't move it because of fear that it'll break, then she's muksa. But it has to be this k'peidah not to move it. Here, there's no k'peidah not to move it. My shtickle Torah is not a k'peidah not to move it. But there's no k'peidah not to move it. That's its place. So there's a big site in Nilchus Muksa. So I don't know, the grandfather clock, I think there's a k'peidah not to move. I think most of us would be, so according to Chazon Ish for sure, and according to Ramosha, I think, according to everybody, there's a k'peidah not to move her. L'chayra. That's l'chayra, thus is l'chayra. What do you want to ask? Somebody want to ask something?
Maybe it's talking about the clock that makes a sound.
Why is it also? Why is the clock that makes it? Why is it alarm clock is muksa or not? What's the answer? No, it's doing the davar mutter moed. It's waking me up. I'll vibe by all of you. Right? It's waking me up. Right? Where's calculator, man? You have the watch with the calculator? No. You don't have? No. The calculator watch is that a kli shemach d'liyaseh or no? Right? It's both, right? It's a heter and itzer. It has a calculator and it has a watch. So what is it? So klisha makle heter ve'itzer. Therefore, it's mutter, and therefore you gotta move it around and whatever. Hourglass, what? Yeah, so that's a sugya medida. Those hourglasses in the board game. I'd be afraid to say this svara. The miyach is the svara to Shlomo Zalman. Shlomo Zalman wanted to say that when you have an hourglass in the board game, Shlomo Zalman wanted to say that's not an uvdin de choil, it's an uvdin de mischak. It's like it's kol kulai, not choldik. It's kol kulai just for a game, and therefore. But these are chedushim, These are chedushim. I mean, Chazal asked measuring. This is an example of measuring, and Chazal asked all types of measuring, up to the Mekal Memker type of measuring. I don't know. I'd be afraid. I'd be scared. I don't know. I'd be scared. I don't know if you have to stop a child from doing it. Maybe I don't know. But I'd be nervous. Actually, maybe you do have to stop a child. Teach a child that it's a problem with Medida, so that when he's older, he knows it's a problem with Medida. I didn't see anyone in print that says that you're allowed to play with the sand dial in the board game. It's measuring. I don't see why such a thing should be mutter. That's Adkan Sifnun Aleph. Any other questions? Oh no, actually. And what about if the watch stops? We spoke about this. What should come out? I think the ikar thing I felt that when a watch stops, that there should be a problem is in Shemi Yitaka. It's a very normal thing to go and wind it. Elamai, let's say it stops because the battery came out, so that you can't fix. You need some special woman to fix it or something like that, right? So, what? 1 second. So if it's a kishut and it still has a U, so let's go in order. If it's a kishut, let's go in order. Let's say it's a kishut and it stops, and you have to wind it. I'm afraid of Shemi Yitaka. I'm scared. Very normal thing for a person it's a very easy thing. I'm afraid, even though it's a kisha, because I'm afraid of the gzeira, he's going to come to wind it. It's a very normal thing. So I'm scared. I'm a little bit scared. If the battery came out or the battery died, whatever, so then there you don't have a Shemi Yitaka because you can't fix the battery. You don't own a battery, right? Depending on the case, but most people can't fix the battery. If that's the case, so then now it depends. If the watch is also a kishut, it's a tachshit, so then great. So then it's not muksa because there's no Shemi Yitaka and it's serving a function. Let's say you have a simple watch, right? It's not a kishut. You got like one of these simple watch, like a Rolex or something, right? And it's not doing any kishut or something like that. Well, now it depends. You're right, there's no Shemi Yitaka, but it's not doing anything. So now it's a broken kli. Broken kli. Shaver kli is muksa. Good? Crystal clear? Sorry? That's interesting. Sorry. You mean you said then that if I already... No, but this is a different function. He's asking that, we saw back then that let's say it's able to be used. It's able to be used like a table that, what was the best example? The glasses, all the cases, something that it was able to be used. So then we don't say there's a Shemi Yitaka because he can use it like that. Are you going to say the same svara when it's two separate functions? It's two separate functions. You have one function that it's a jewelry, and then you have one function that it's a watch. Klape the jewelry, it's totally usable. Klape the watch, it's totally unusable. Are we going to say a Shemi Yitaka? Yeah. Yeah, okay, but it depends. It depends like this. It depends like I'm losing my cheshik for that svara because most people that have the watch, it's true they would wear it when it's broken, right? Most people would wear it when it's broken, meaning a jewelry watch. Let's say the lady. Well, I don't care most people. I'm saying the lady that would wear it when it's broken, right? So it's true she would wear it when it's broken. But every woman, every man, and every other, whatever, right? Everybody that would have a watch that all they have to do to wind it would obviously wind it. There's nobody in the world that would not wind it, right? So therefore, I'm still nervous. Come again? What does that mean? Of course she winds it. She winds it every time it stops.
You haven't wound it in a while. Last Shabbos, you got to wound it. You put it on, you can keep putting it on anyway. You go to the center, you can put it on anyway, regardless.
Again, in my case, you're significant. In my case, in a case of where that the lady would wear it as jewelry when it's broken, but that same lady, if you ask her, when it stops, will you wind it? She's of course going to say yes, right? If all she needs, she might tell you, if I couldn't wind, she might tell you, if I couldn't wind it, so then I'd still wear it. No. We're trying to figure out over here, is it doimet? What does Chazal say? Chazal said, that's the example, right? Chazal said that, Sita Zayin. Chazal said, here, Kirish and Nishmata, Osla Taltala, right? The Kain Safstal Orech, the Osla Taltala. I feel that Elim Kain Yashiv Mi by Join, unless you were able to Yashiv Mi by Join, right? And what was our example? Where did the Mishmur say it? For the Nishma, the Bank is a regular climb. I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't over here. It was really further. It was really Sivches, right? It was really Sivches where it talked about a closet that the door fell off. It's a closet that the door fell off. You still have the whole entire function of the usage of the item, Hainu storing the item. You just don't have the door. So that we said is not the bittul of the shimush. It's still usable. It's not the geferlich. It's not geferlich. Here, I don't know if anybody has a right to look at it as, I would look at it as two separate items. I would look at it as a piece of jewelry, and I would look at it as a watch. Besides the chefs of the watch, okay. What did I say back then? I said back then that it is mutter.
Give a cheaper watch that's working.
Right, but so what? Okay, but again, that has nothing to do with the question I'm asking. That has nothing to do with the question I'm asking. I'm asking a question. If you had asked this woman, will she wind it on a Monday or will she not care? She for sure 1,000% could say, yes, of course I'm going to wind it, right? Sorry?
Why not?
Again, it's two separate functions. And, I don't know, later. Okay, maybe later. What did we say back then? Anybody write down what we said back then? Just one moment. What did we say back then? I mean, that's when we're in the sugya. So what did we say back then? What? Let's say somebody who wears it as jewelry. Somebody who wears it as jewelry. What did we say? Broken. No, when it's broken, it's a different shmooze. It just not needs to be round. Yeah, it is muksa. And I said based on this svara. Because the pshat is that it's the normal thing that you're going to do, clapping that shimush, and I'm not like that. That's what I think. Okay, now that like that, yeah. It's done the same thing. It's done the same thing because you want whatever you're not going to be allowed to do on Shabbos. So you're not allowed on Shabbos. Stomach, yeah. Stomach, the same thing. Stomach, the same thing. That's l'chayra. This we spoke about. As we spoke about. Well, I don't understand. This is something weird over here today. Okay, nun base. All right, let's start. I don't know what to do over here. Okay, muksa, lashe. This is really is a very big sugya. Nun base is a very big sugya. It was a mistake. I thought that all these sugyas are as small as, but nun base is a very, very important sugya, and it's a tremendous nafkaminas. At least let's start it, and we'll finish in the first 5 minutes of Sunday as a shab. All right. What are you laughing? Well, him, English name, I'll throw him out. It's him. So it's like this. Let me at least give you the basis of the svaras. So that way those 5 minutes go very quickly on Sunday. So it's like this. There's three Gemaras. Okay, let's start like this. There's three Gemaras. The Gemara in Daf Mem Zayin says like this. There was a wealthy fellow, and he had like some type of a shmata. And he said, for me, it's passt nicht. Bin besser Mensch. For me, passt nicht. So he said, Taka, for you, it's Taka passt nicht. But your neighbor next door, he's an ani, arme Mensch, hat nicht Geld. And for him, this would be like mamish, a very shena yamaka or shena hittel or whatever. You know, you have like some old hat or something, and they're old strimel. You have an old strimel, like one of those old pancake strimels that do shamis and got them all. You know what I'm talking about? Those with the hair going that way. So you look at this is no longer for me a hittel. Das nicht kein hittel. This looks like a some dreadful beaver or something, whatever. Not for me. So for you now it's muksa. Let's say it's totally not shimushi. Totally not. The examples that we have where it's a beged, it might be biladaita, but that's why the Gemara's example are talking about things that are not 3x3 and things that aren't considered the actual cases. They'll get to practical in a moment, but something that for an usher is passt nicht. It's not usable. It's not roy. It's not a kli. His only neighbor walks by and he goes every day, rummages through the garbage. He says, oh, gewaltig. Look at this. Today he threw out Meshiga. He threw out over here, ganze turban over here, Meshiga. So for him, it was not roy. For him, it is roy. What's the halacha? Do we say, here he is on Shabbos in his house, the usher in his house, he takes this thing, he says, what's this doing here? It's passt nicht for me. So his wife says to him, so then I bezayt muksa. Not a kli, it's just something going in the garbage. So he says to his wife, yeah, but what do you mean? The neighbor, by him, this is a yontif. What are you talking? So she says to him, what it says in the Gemara, muksa le'ashirim, muksa le'ashirim is going to be muksa la'niyim. We don't say have a muchan la'niyim. If it's muksa for the ashirim, that's Lashon HaGemara, right? We don't say that once it's considered chazi la'niyim, that for the ashir it's going to be allowed. That's muksa. And then forget it's muksa even for the ani. Okay, that's one direction. Well, we'll talk about this, and that's what Shulchan Aruch says. Muksa la'ashirim, have a muksa. Afilu aniyim ein metaltlim. Comes again Rebbe, Mishabura, and he says, and not only that, he says, and don't think, maybe it's only an ani in the house of the usher. No, this thing is muksa. This thing is muksa. This is the last sif katan over here in the Mishabura, the 170th sif katan. This thing is totally muksa. Okay, so that means like this: if something for you is muksa, sounds like that for everybody it's muksa, right? That's what it sounds like. If for you it's muksa, that means for everybody it's muksa. And there's another Gemara like this, and then Vavam Abayz. The Gemara is talking about a neder, and the Gemara basically says if you make a neder and you ask for something, so the Gemara says that taka it's going to be muksa now for everybody. If it's muksa for everybody, you're the bailam. The idea being you're the bailam on the chayfetz, I'm the bailam on this shmata. So for me it's muksa. For everybody it's muksa. You're the bailam on this food that you answered. So therefore now it's also to everybody because I'm the bailam. So therefore if it's muksa for me, I'm the bailam, I'm kaveh, and therefore it's muksa for everyone. Good, very simple. But then there's a Gemara in Kuf Chav Ches, and this is a big problem because the Gemara in Kuf Chav Ches on the base, the Gemara says that you have something which is chazi l'koyin. Like Truma. And the Gemara says, Truma is not muksa. Truma is not muksa. But I'm a Yisrael. Doesn't matter, because chazi l'kayeh. Chazi l'kayeh. So if something is muksa for, didn't we just say a second ago, if I'm not able to use it, then it's muksa for everybody? Over here we're seeing that if it's not muksa, because there's a koyin somewhere else that he could use it, so then it doesn't have a shame of a muksa. What's going on here? Again, by the case of the usher, he has a shmata, for him it's muksa, therefore it's muksa to everybody. By the case of a neder, for him he's not allowed to, therefore it's muksa to everybody. All of a sudden, by the case of the koyin, so then you have truma. For me it's muksa, l'chayra. I mean, it's not, we'll see, right? But for me, l'chayra, it should be muksa, because I can't eat truma, and that's what it's oimid for. The truma is oimid to be eaten, and I can't eat it. Afapikin chazi l'koyin, and it's not muksa, because it's chazi l'koyin. Is it a problem? Sorry? You could say it's time for the kohen, but I guess until I did the Ma'aseh Nesina and everything, right? So it's l'chayra. But that's the kasha to be showing. It's also bothered me, shtickle, what you're asking. I also would have wanted to answer something like that. But the Rishayim asked the kasha. Taisa asked the kasha and Kuf Chav Zayin in the base. So Taisa says that Taisa says Yisayid. I guess let's just lay down the rules, and then we'll get into the cases on Sunday. But Taisa lays down Yisayid. Taisa's Yisayid is, listen closely. Taisa's Yisayid is there's a difference between a greyusa and an isura. Greyusa means it's feltzach in the chayfetz. There's a lacking in the chayfetz. What do I mean to feltzach in the chayfetz? Says Taisa says when I have a shmata, the usher has a shmata, then the usher by the usher it's heisnish kleider. It's not clothing b'chlal. By the usher it's not clothing. It's no chshivas. That means there's a chesaron in the chayfetz. If there's a chesaron in the chayfetz, so then it's muksa. So you're going to come along, you're this ani, and he's going to say, but by me it's not. Okay, but who cares? There's a chesaron in the chayfetz. There's a chesaron in the chayfetz. If there's a chesaron in the chayfetz, so then that's muksa. Okay. Wait, we didn't get to the nether case yet, but don't worry. Okay. So Masha'ain came in the case of isura. There, there's not the pshat that there's something wrong with the chayfetz. Adarabah, it's a very holy chayfetz. It's truma. There's nothing wrong with the chayfetz. So therefore, the fact that you can't eat the chayfetz, that doesn't make a shame muksa. The chayfetz is a wonderful chayfetz. Just there's a halacha, there's an isser that you can't eat it. Forget it, there's no chesaron in the chayfetz. Sorry? Which case are you in? Oh, so the shaila is, what about the neder? What about the neder? The neder is also isur. So then you're mekavin to Taisus. Taisus asked the kasha, you should make a kiddush. Right? If you're mekavin to Taisus kasha, you should make a kiddush. Does everybody agree? Everybody's masking? Yeah, everyone's masking. Okay. Akapanim. So don't start with me, right? So Taisus asked the kasha, and Taisus says, you know what? That's a really good kasha. So now you have to make another chilik. And you have to say, if you have an isser, which is usher to everyone, Taisus said the neder we're talking about was not that she ushered it to herself. You have to say the neder was she ushered her chayfetz on everyone. New klal, like a b'medvar mamur. So we have now 3 rules. Okay, these are the 3 rules. Rule number 1, if there's a chesaron in the chayfetz, listen closely, kindalach. If there's a chesaron in the chayfetz, so now it's muksa to everyone. not just to me. If there's a chesaron in the chayfetz because of the greyusa in the chayfetz, because there's something lacking in the chayfetz, it's also to everyone. If it's an isser in the chayfetz, if there's isser in the chayfetz, so then b'kai gavna, so now it's mutter to everybody. If it's only an isser on myself, but then if you have an isser on everyone, if you have an isser on everyone, then everyone will agree that that's muksa. Is that clear? Those are the gedarim. I'll just leave you with one shot to think about. Now, the cases we have to get into now, all the different various, so it's a billion cases here we have to get into. Sorry? That's what Rabbi Aaron said, right? All right, first name down, right? What's first name? What? You change your name? Only Saba Rebbe can change your name. Not everybody can just change it. So that's what Rabbi Yankee said. I also want to say such a teretz. That's all. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about why not just stay there. It's oimid for the kohen, and therefore it's not muksa, right? That's what? Okay, that's what Pekarsky said. You guys will deal with this. This is a big bayah. I have a problem with this. There's a ran. I'm going right now. I just want you to think about one shaila. No, there's a million cases we have to get to. If you smoke on Yontif, and I hold that the smoke on Yontif, let's say, is usher. So am I allowed to touch your cigarettes, right? You hold day one of Yontif, and for me, it's, I hold like Ramosha Feinstein that you're supposed to be keeping 2 days, and you're not keeping 2 days. So is your things, is your thing muksa, whatever, right? Well, a million cases, right? Kitnius, or Gibrax, or the most treif of all, machine mats is given, right? The mamish, the Avia voice is talking about what? A bottle cap. No, but that's not muchal, because that's not in the chefta. A guy could have opened it. There's a way to open it better. Okay, but that's something else. Here it means you got it down on a chefta. There's a million cases. Baby wipes and things like that. A billion cases, right? It's a billion cases, right? And there it's easier because everybody in the world holds it's also. So you get involved in that billion cases, But there's one thing I want to think about. Everything I said today is shver. Not everything, just in the last 5 minutes. Everything's shver. What did I just tell you? I told you if you have an item that the ani would use, and the usher says, by me pasnished. So then, again, let's say the case is the Gemara. There's some shmata, which is not the proper size, and therefore it's not a kli. Okay? So for the usher, what it does take a moksa. It's applied to moksa for the ganze oilam. Okay? Why? Because we go basar the bailam, and I explained because it's totally in the great use of the chafza. The ma'aser, if I say all I did was read you the Mishnah Berurah. That's what the Mishnah Berurah says. Since you've cut in Kavayin over here, Mishnah Berurah says, he says, Shekvar hooksem midaito shabala ba'asher ve'en chilik be'inani shel beis. It doesn't matter if he lives in the house or not. Mishnah Berurah says, where's those words where he calls it a grace? He says, this is all hudafka, that it's not the last words in the Mishnah Berurah in Simin Shin Ches. Officially, we can make a siyam, the last words. He says, this is all, there's feltzach in the chefza, it's a greysa in the item, there's lacking in the item, in the chshivas of the item. Aval davar she'ein roi l'bayla machmas iser, but if there's a chesaron because of an iser, like you made a neder on the kikar, le'nasa muksa, le'nasa, v'masra kol oilam. But if you aser this food on everybody, then it is muksa. That's it. Adkan hadron Allah sin shin ches, right? I have a catch on everything we said, right? Everything we said. Peligadoila. No one has a catch on? No one's a catch on what I just said? What I just say? The Ani sits here and says, "Fu, famitas is gewaldig. Famitas is gewaldig." The Archer says, "Ich bin a balgaiva. I'm a balgaiva." So I say, it's by me. It's just nicht garnished. That's what? Oh, thank you, Rabbi Rosenberg. Peligadoila. Sivchav Zion is like a direct stira to everything you just heard. What was the whole everything that went on in this room in the last few weeks? Right? Did you have a bone on the plate, and you have a dog? And again, damn, doesn't nicht muksa. Because there's a dog somewhere, you're not going to give it to the dog. You're not planning on giving it to the dog. And avabikin, it's not muksa. Why? Because who cares that you're giving it to the dog? So pardon my French, pardon my tzushta, right? The ani's erga via hund, he's worse than the dog. The poor ani, he's a Yiddish neshama, he's worse than, Lassie. Givei, look, what's going on over here? How can it be? Who has the answer to this question? Peligadoila, right? Why that muksa?
We had originally, we had
what?
Usher and Ani, what the one together in the beginning.
So, but what's the answer to this kasha? Why is it that when you have a bone we say, that's not muksa, I beat his dogs in the shtetl, that's not muksa. I have no plan on giving it to the dog, right? What? No, even without throwing it out. What? So I'm not giving it to the dog. I'm definitely not giving it to the dog. I'm never giving it to the dog. Rosenberg, have you ever given it to the dog? Are you ever going to give it to the dog? Never. Oh, maybe after the shiur, right? Yeah, okay. No. Bella Gedaila, what's the answer? Tell him, Rabbi Shea, you have the answer? Ladafka dog, a cat, whatever. Right? No, we said we weren't going with that. We said it has nothing to do with your being the Zionist. We said it was mutter even if you're not going to be the. So what? So aniyim lach yoisai is a mitzvah min haTorah to be mefarnes aniyim. The mitzvah min haTorah lach yoisai and countless mitzvahs to be mefarnes aniyim and tzedakah tatzal mimaves and whatever. So what?
Aniyim are another person, so we look at muksa people.
So what? So what?
Because if muksa goes on to assist person, that doesn't change
Why?
his status, because it's not that it's on a lower status.
What do you mean?
Even though he's an onion, but he's still a person of the same status.
So what?
So the product doesn't become any worse.
Okay, you're saying it is muksa. You're saying by a person it's muksa, but by dog it's not. Why?
Because he stays on the same status.
So why? So what?
Why is he staying on the same status?
No, he is on the same status. Now what? So why is it not
They're
muksa?
men's. You can't put away what you want to make it clear.
It is muksa. It is muksa. Why is it muksa? You just explain why it shouldn't be muksa. What?
But an animal, you're not giving
No. You can get the answer. No, I'm not about it. No. Doesn't say anywhere here it has to be designated. No? I'm not going to tell you the answer. Maybe someday. I'm not telling you the answer. There's an answer. Okay, there's an answer. You know what? I don't have to tell you every answer. I don't have to tell you every answer. It doesn't say anywhere in my contract I have to tell you every answer. Right? No? I don't have to tell you every answer. Fine. So you have to whoever gets the answer, he should call me. I prefer not on Shabbos. All right? And he should call me. And then Mitzvah Shem, if he gets the answer, whoever gets the answer gets, what's he got? $100 of my husband. Whoever gets the answer gets a jerky, gets a thing of jerky, okay? I don't mean he gets the whole cow. He gets a little thing of jerky, like a sour stick of jerky, okay? Yeah. It'll be cooked. I know in this coil you have to say that. Okay. So it's interesting. Oh, welcome. Thank you, guys. Welcome all of the listeners from Torah Yadayim to Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh. Welcome to Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh. A lot of them over here, I see. But welcome to Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh. So it says like this. It's very interesting. Very interesting. In Parakid Aleph and Pasuk Bey, it's a very interesting thing. Daber no be'aznei ha'am v'yishalu ish me'es ve'eyu v'ish me'es v'yisakol kesef. Daber no. Ask. It tells Daber no. Please. Listen, it's Merdik Loshin. Hashem tells Moshe, Daber no el abed aznei ha'am. Talk. Beg Klal Yisrael to go and ask the Mitzrim for geld. So I don't even need to ask the question. Any good Yiddish heart understands the question. You have to beg the Yiddish fellow. You have to beg him to ask. Why are you guys smiling? You have to beg him to please ask the Mitzrim for geld. Ask them for their geld. Well, what do you have? The kash is obvious. Go and tell Klal Yisrael it means so much to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he should ask money from the Mitzrim. Why? So the Gemara tells us, Shelo Yomer is tzaddik, right? Because Avraham Avinu is going to say, it's a whole shver, Avraham Avinu is going to say, you did Mekayim, you put them in jail for 400 years, but B'chush Gadol, you didn't Mekayim. So please, beg Klal Yisrael for me, for your father, for Kadosh Baruch Hu, please, that they should ask Mitzrim for the geld. It's an interesting thing. It gets more interesting. Shpeter in the parsha, when Take comes L'maisa, so Klal Yisrael goes, and they ask for the geld. Right? They go there. This is after, imagine the matzif, There's mamish, it's death all over the place. There's so many people that died from this dreadful magefa, Makas B'chayris. The Rebbeinu Shalom took out all of his nekama and all that anger, and so many people died. And they all thought it was just going to be the Bechor, and then they found out who's a Bechor, and right? And then all of a sudden it got very leibedik, because then they found out that this kid was a Bechor, and then they found out what Fatima was doing. It wasn't pretty. There was mamish all over the place. It wasn't pretty. So Vahi B'chatzas Alayla, they all dead. All the Mitzrim are dead. And this mamish screaming and suffering in every Mitzri home. All of a sudden, knocks on the door, comes to B'nai Yisrael, Asu Kidvar Moshe. This is already the next parak. Moshe at Gebetin, Moshe asked us to go and ask nicely, they go and ask for money. So they come and they ask for money. And Vaishalu Mitzrim, Kli Kesef, Kli Zav, Smolas, Vashem Nasan Esachem, Beinei Mitzrayim, and they took all the money. So it's a very interesting series of things that doesn't get. This is maybe one of the biggest nisim in the whole Yetzias Mitzrayim. Stam that maybe that's not such a nice to have to ask the Yid to ask for money, but that even Moshe Rabbeinu has to say, please, Klal Yisrael, please, he has to beg Klal Yisrael to get the money from the Mitzrim. Okay, Klal Yisrael mask him to this. Then Klal Yisrael come, they knock on the Mitzri door. Imagine just the matziv the Mitzri has in his house. He has mamish. He has a one child that's nifter, one child that they found out is also nifter that they didn't know was a bechor. The whole matziv is noira. All of the cousins are nifter. Half the husbands are nifter. Everybody's nifter. Everybody's being nifter. And knocks on the door Yid. Who it's Batsim in essence. It's their God who did all this, right? It's their leader Moshe Rabbeinu who was promising all this. And he knocks on the door. And he says, look. I know it's not such a good time. Right? You're screaming, right? All the Arabs, when they scream everything, we scream. So, and he knocks on the door, I know it's not a good time, but Lamaisa, Moshe Rabbeinu has asked us to do it, and Maisa, maybe you can give us like all your gold and silver, And so I know they look in the Medrash and Avada come in, dead Mitzrim. He's like tripping over them, right? Dead Mitzrim everywhere. There's Yasir and Fatima and Faiz and Ibrahim and whatever. And he's walking over them. And he goes, this is very nice. This taka very nice, right? This used to be ours. This one nice. And they take, and as they're walking out, they say, but you didn't get yet the clothing. You didn't come to the clothing. Oh, okay. What, you have something nice? Yeah, come. We have like these nice sandals and like a nice turban would look nice. And there they are. And they're walking out with suitcases. This is all in the middle of like the 50 levayas that are taking place. And taka, why? Because the HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave chen to Klal Yisrael. Very interesting series of events over here. Very, very interesting what's going on over here. And what's the pshat? Well, let's explain this a little bit and get to where it's negayos. What's taka b'chlal going on over here? Why do you have to ask nicely to Klal Yisrael to shleyoyimar oisei tzadik, that Avram Avinu shouldn't say you were makayim the inu yoisamar by meishanim, but you didn't makayim the achar kach yeitzei b'ruchash gadol. You got to remember just now there's mice with the Kloisenberger. The Kloisenberger, when he was in the camps, he had a bunkmate who was they lied together on the same shtick halt. They lied together, and he was a meshumid. He was a mummer. So one day he whispered in the Kloisenberger's Rebbe's ear. He told him, you should know that I'm also going to be in Gan Eden. I'm also going to be in Gan Eden. So the Kloisenberger said to him, you in Gan Eden? What are you talking? You guys don't even hold the Gan Eden. Like, what are you talking about? He said, look, what should I tell you? He said, when Hitler came and he took me, right? So how did he figure it out? I'm already meshumid. I'm already a meshumid already drive dairis already. I'm an einiklach of the meshumadim, So but Hitler, he went back 1 door, 2 door, 3 door. He's still a Jew. So listen, if taka, for Hitler I'm a Jew, then for the Hilkah Bashefer I'm also going to be a Jew. So the Kloisenberger Rebbe told him now he has pshat and something always bothered him. There's a pshat over here. He doesn't understood. The Kloisenberger Rebbe asked, what's the pshat? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, go and bedafka, take the money so that I can mekayim that the oisei tzadik of Avram Avinu shouldn't come and have a tainus on me that I didn't give them the money. You should stand with that. You have to be mekayim your haftacha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised he's going to take Klal Yisrael out b'chush gadol. So that's why you should have to give them the b'chush gadol. So the Kloisenberger Rebbe said, no, the pshat is like this. That the Ma'aseh Tachlis Klal Yisrael were in the Memtes Shari Tumah. So they didn't deserve it. They didn't deserve all the schar, the Rechush Gadol. You could lose your schusim, you could lose your Rechush Gadol. So they lost their schus to the Rechush Gadol. said, but Maisa, if it's enough that we're still, a Klal Yisrael enough that has the shame, the Inu Yoisam, if you still have the shame of the Inu Yoisam, that we're still considered the Banim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Klal Yisrael of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of Avram Avinu, we're still the Banim of Klal of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. No, so then the Achar Kach Yetzei B'chush Gadol, we could still be Makayim. That was the Kleisenberger Rebbe said. Okay, but Akapanim. So what's the pshat that you had to beg them to take the geld? So they say there's different pshatim. Zalman Sorotskin, he was saved from the Shoah. So he said an interesting pshat. He said that Merdika pshat. He said over that there was always a fight after the war to take the reparations, the German the money that they wanted to give the Jews. There was a big fight amongst people. Some people said take them for everything, if I carried it to all hours and they stole from us and everything, and take the money, whatever they're giving, you should take. There were definitely those that held like that, right? And the others held, no, but Dafka, don't take the money. It's advising like Kilu that they should be vindicated. They should be purified. Now we got our mechila and we're okay now. Big fight. So maybe he said that was maybe the shiloh over here. Klal Yisrael didn't want to take the geld because you made us suffer in this Auschwitz for 400 years. You stole our money. You murdered our babies. And Paro Russia, he bathed in 300 baby's blood every single day. So now you're going to give us a little bit of geld? No, but first, they should take the geld. First, they should take the geld because I want Avram Avinu to be happy with it. That's I think the Pashup shot. That's what I always felt was the Pashup shot. But there's a shot from Rav Hirsch. Rav Shamshon Fal Hirsch says a mamsha adav nifla. Rav Shamshon Fal Hirsch explains over here in these psukim that Klal Yisrael always. You have to understand that Galus Mitzrayim is a mahus. It's a mahus of Galus. It's a limit of Galus. That's why Taka these parshas are shoyvim, and that's why the birth of Klal Yisrael is a big limit for all of us. The Galus is not just what it was there. Galus, Klal Yisrael always suffered throughout the Goliath from the tzura of how Goyim looked at Jews in a negative way. The Jew is the Amma Nivcher. The Jew is the Ben of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. A Jew is a Davar Nifla. It's Amma Nivcher. And the Goyim look at us with such terrible eyes, Kivyachol, that we're Ganovim and that we're cheat and that we only care about ourselves and that this and that. And that there's all bad qualities, which that's part of the tzara of being in Galus. So Hirsch explains that Klal Yisrael at this point, after Makas Chayshach, got a tremendous chaim. And the truth is, the Alter Mikelm already says one of the biggest nisim in all of the whole Yetzias Mitzrayim was the chaim that Moshe Rabbeinu had. And it says in this parsha, it says in the pasuk, Hayish Moshe was gadol by them. He was very big by them, the pasuk says, right? He had a chaim. That was one of the biggest nisim, because every time he walked in there, imagine every time he walks into Parai, and he tells Paro, tomorrow I'm bringing the frogs, and he starts telling him about the frogs and this, that. And, this is Paro, who's the mightiest person in the world, and he hates Jews, right? And he's the person who's causing all the trouble. Why didn't he kill him? So he says, Elamai, you're going to say it doesn't sound like from the Midrash that he was afraid of Paro. The Zohar sounds like that this is the biggest pella. Not that there was a protection and that Paro had a fear. The Zohar sounds like it's mamish pashut in the pasuk because there was a chaim. He saw Moshe as such an incredible person, he couldn't kill him. Yeah, it's a Peladik Maisa, but he saw Moshe kafi what Moshe was. You can't kill Moshe. How could you kill Moshe? He's Moshe. He's Moshe. He's the most awesome person. He's unbelievable. You look at Moshe. Moshe's unbelievable. And there was a chain. And slowly that chain went to the whole Klal Yisrael. After Makas Chayshach, they got that chain, explains Rav Hirsch. Because Klal Yisrael, on the days of Makas Chayshach, were told to go into the Mitzri quarters and to look around and to see where the gold is and the silver is. Now, the Mitzrim thought that the day after Makas Chayshach, they're going to be cleaned out. They thought they were going to wake up after Makas Chayshach or whatever, and there's not going to be anything left because the Jews took everything. They turned on the lights, and Baruch turned the lights, and all of a sudden they see the Jews didn't touch anything. They didn't take anything. They didn't take any gold. They didn't take any silver. And all of a sudden, it was born a moiridik chain of the Yidden. That these are good people and fine people and ethical people and they're honest people and they're not people that are just out for themselves and v'chule. And they got this incredible chaim. The people started to see Taka. This is why the Rebbeinu Shalom wants to save such people. They're good people. They're ethical people. They're fine people. They're wonderful people. And they got a chaim. They got a chaim of such a nature that they never had before. He explains this in all the Goliaths. It was like this. The Klal Yisrael, they always had the Jew is always that ganef and the money hungry and the this. And be'etzim, it's a terrible tzara because a Yid is the Amma Nivcher. A Yid is something, the most miyuchadik thing in the world is a Yid. That's the ben of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And now all of a sudden they got it. They got this chen. And now comes again Moshe, and Moshe says, now you're going to go to them and you're going to lose that chen. That was very hard for them. At first said that was the hardest thing for them, that they're going to lose this chen that they just acquired, this newfound chen, that the goyim even understand what's a Yid. That a goy says a Yid is something miyuchid. A goy, they're going to lose that chen because they're going to go to the goy and they're going to say to the guy, okay, I want this, and I want this, and fakert, everything I was doing in Makas Chayshik was really just to get it, and this and that. They're afraid they're going to lose this chen. It was a big tzara to lose this chen. To not have that chen is a big tzara. And taka, that's why you have to say, but no, afal pikein, there was a whole tachlis, Chazal tell us, that they should take that jewelry, and they said they're only borrowing the jewelry and the silver and everything, and then they're going to go to Yam, so if everyone's going to see they're not coming back, Memela, the Mitzrim are going to run after them to get their stuff back, and Memela, it's going to go, they'll all be murdered in the Yam. That was the whole tachlis. It was all tachlis, but it was hard for the Yidden. It was hard for the Yidden to lose the chen. This is a very important thing. It's a very important thing. We have to make like a chen campaign. There's all these campaigns. It's like a chen campaign because you see from over here, you see that having chen, the tachlis is not to have chen in the eyes of the goyim that they should like us and that we should have ischabras to them. No, the tachlis is that they should see us with a chen, that Klal Yisrael is an amanivkar, that they're special people, that they're miyuchadik people, that they're people that are roy to look up to, and that they should realize that we're different. But at least there are such good people in the world. And when Klal Yisrael are good, and that goodness, that chen is shining, so then it makes that's what Kiddush Hashem. That's an awesome Kiddush Hashem. That Klal Yisrael, that it gives even a goy, a saga. There's goodness in the world, and it generates a certain type of a goodness in the world. When the finest people in the world, the Klal Yisrael, have that chen and being good. So then even the goyim have to epis to a certain level. And you see how important this is. That's exactly what Klal Yisrael were nervous about. That's why you had to beg them to take it. And that's what this over and over, this theme in the parsha. Moshe Rabbeinu had this incredible chen, and that's why Paro would never kill him. Klal Yisrael got this chen. And Ad Kedei Chach, Klal Yisrael, Taka, when they came to get the geld, they didn't even lose that chen. And there was such an Amad Nivcher, there was such unbelievable, such ethical and such fine and so wonderful that the Goyim themselves said, of course, imagine the matziv. They have their dead children there, but a Yid just came to my house. They understood what's a Yid. We have no asag of this, but imagine a person's in the middle of a tragedy and a suffering, but all of a sudden somebody who's so unbelievable came to his house. And any Jew, it wasn't just Moshe Rabbeinu, it was any Jew. A Jew just came to my house. Take this. It's a big simcha to give him this. It was a tremendous chus that he could go and give something to a Jew. And the chen. And the Maisa today in the world, chen has taken a very big hit in the last few years. The Yiddish chen has taken a big hit. I wasn't trying to say all this. You know me, I'm the furthest thing from a bleeding heart liberal. You guys don't even know what that is, but whatever it is, I'm the furthest thing from it. I think you all know that. And but the world has taken a real hit in the tzur of chen of Klal Yisrael. The tzur of chen that a Yid is not trying to. Let me explain. It's not just in it's in COVID, it's in politics, it's in everything, right? There's a certain loudness. There's a certain loudness which is taking away the chen. It's taking away the chen. How should I say this? Let's say it both in positive first. We should be living in a time when, what should they be? There's a lot of chesed going on by the Yidden today. Unbelievable things that are going on by the Yidden today. Unbelievable. The amount of plasma that's being donated, the oxygen tanks and the gemachim and this and that. And every Yid is worried for every other Yid. It is an unbelievable amount of chesed that's taking place. Unbelievable. The goyim should be talking about that. The chen of, look at these unbelievable people that they're worried about theirs and they're worried about their sick and they're worried about that, right? And it generates a surah of they're good people in the world, and then something to look up to, people to look up to. That's what should be going on in the world today, right? And unfortunately, it's not like that. It's even in the midst their suffering, the Gans of health is suffering, right? So even in the midst of the suffering of the world, they should be able to say, but look, like, when the mitzvah were suffering with their dead bodies on the floor, but a Jew just came, they'll be able to say, look what a Yid is, look what a Jew is, look how they're so good, they're so fine, and they're so ethical, and they're so whatever. And unfortunately, there is a lot of good. There's a lot of good. But when there's a lot of the other direction, so then it takes away the whole chen. You can't have half chen. There's no such thing. That's, it's either all chen or not chen. It's not fair, but that's how it goes, right? So Bereg, you have one guy who's loud and screaming and taking away the chen. I can't explain to you chen. If you understand chen, good. If not, I can't explain it. That's the problem of the door. Chen, if I can't explain to you how a Yid shines and makes chen in the Welt. I can explain to you what he does to ruin it. But Bereg, it's ruined. That's it. The chen is gone. And then they look, and this is the Jews, and this is the Jewish people, and whatever. It's, Rabbi say, not Biden can hurt us, not Trump can help us. It's nothing to do with any of these people, Rabbi say. The only thing is, our shtadlis as Klal Yisrael, our shtadlis as Klal is to make chen. That's our shtadlis as a Klal. We have to have a tzura. Klape our shtadlis in the world, in Goyim, and everything, is if we have chen. Chen means that we do things that generate a tzura, that's a yid. A yid is wonderful, a yid is ethical, a yid is gewaltig, a yid is caring, a yid is a good person, is goodness, right? So then mitzad our ishtadlus, now the rest is tefillah and ma'asim tovim and tshuva of Klal Yisrael and galus in general. That's our ishtadlus in a galus. That's our ishtadlus to get chen. Our ishtadlus is to get chen. And then afterward, no, but what happens? People could be doing good things, and it gets overshadowed. It gets in this battle. There's so much rage in the world today. I started out with a statement. I'm not a bleeding heart liberal, right? But I just wonder if there's a chance now that the world won't have there's a shtickle mila to diplomacy. Okay, there's a shtickle mila to diplomacy when there's so much rage and rage. Why is it that? Just explain. Every person today has a shita on COVID, and every person has a shita on politics. Okay, right? Is that going to generate chen? That every single person is able to say his shita, strong on politics, loud, and get upset about it. Are you Meshiga? We're trying to generate chen in the world, right? So if you have a shita, so keep it quiet, or do it, or don't do it, or whatever, right? But to be loud about it, whether it's a shita about politics, whether it's a shita about COVID, about how to tzura and how to haga, worry about one thing, not to be expressing your shita, which is definitely going to take away chen. That definitely doesn't generate chen. Anybody expressing its shita, if you know that half the world doesn't have your shita, right? That's how it is today. Half the world has one shita, half the world has every other shita, and whatever, okay? Whether it's in politics, whether it's in this, whether it's in that. Okay, so, if you're going to express it, you're going to take away chen. Inevitably, because half the world has not your shita. Okay, you're going to be the one that changes the world. What is wrong with the people? Do they really honestly believe that when they say their shita, the other person's good? How is it possible that in our heilige Welt, in Inzera world, in the world of Kedusha, in the world of Torah, that there are families that they can't talk? Because I know in the Goyish world, they don't have Thanksgiving meals and things like that, because, somebody might say the word Trump, and somebody worse, they might say the word Biden, and, how's it shaykh that these things can make a nafkamina by uns? How's it possible, B'chla? How's it possible that I could be so upset with somebody else? You know why? Because he's expressing his shita so loudly, and he's expressing his shita so loudly. That is the bittul of chen. I hope I'm being clear, because there's no other way to explain it. That's what chen is. Chen is shine. Schenkheit. Shine in English and schenkheit in Yiddish. Shining. Being good, not just rage and this whole, I don't know. It's never been like this. I don't know. It's never been like this. There's no such thing in Klal Yisrael. There's no such thing in Klal Yisrael that we should care so much about politics, that we should express it in a loud way, that it takes away the chen of Klal Yisrael. I said to you a story once, but I'll say it again. When the Ringling brothers and the Barnum, right? Barnum, they came to New York. So there was a Yid, he came to his father, to do a circus. So came into the Stadt. So the Tate, was heißt der Circus? Was heißt der Circus? Sagt er, no, Tate, versteht nicht, der hat dort ein Elephant. Was ist das, ein Elephant? Was ist das? No, Tate, versteht nicht, hat ein größer Bauch. Das ist ein Bauch, ein Fragnisch, das ist ein Bauch. Sagt er, was? Also wie die Tante Roigeneni? What, like your aunt Rose? No, elephant. It's like a great. It has these huge ears. But as I the fetter angel, Meinst du gehen was? Like no, da nose. Nose in Yiddish is like a nose. As a nose, as the mama? You mean like your mother? No, the father, he says, listen. Yengo, right? The elephant. It's good for the Yidden, it's not good for the Yidden. That's all we care about, right? Today developed with such rage to say it's shita and to say strength and this and against and whatever and to get angry and to get upset. Mishiga. That is the bittul of Chaim. You can never have and all the goodness that we do. There's so much goodness that has taken place and chasadim that are taking place in the world today, dafka in the world of this dreadful magefa and the COVID and everything. But it gets all overshadowed because the Jew lost his chaim. And you see what verse said, that's very important that we should have chaim. That's very important. We have to make this chaim campaign. Just tell you one story. Just now, you saw when you guys with the van, you guys came, you saw there was a matziv going on over there. You saw it was right there. So there was, you know how the cars get parked in a way where one car can't get out over there in the drive, over there where I park, right? So I was sitting in the car preparing my share, right? Davening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to send me a story, because even though I said 12, but I know you all, if I don't say a story at the end, then it wasn't worth anything, right? And the elephant story, some of you heard also, so, but okay. I said a story, the Klosenberger by accident, none of that's worth it to you guys. I know, if I don't say a story, I know. So, the kids I'm davening to Hashem for a story. So then there's a lady there, she's trying to get out, and there's a car that blocked her in, and she's trying to get out, and she comes out with her phone, and she starts taking a picture of the car, like as if, come on, lady. And she's trying to get out, So Lisa, I'm in my car, and I see it's really, she can get out. So I got out of the car, and I go like this to her, like to show her that she can get out, right? And she's not listening to me, so what am I going to do? You can, with Zukman, you can take the horse, but you can't make it. Okay, so what can I do, right? She's an ankle of the, but anyways, so I said to her, I'm going like this, right? And she goes, like you can't do it. I'm not going to say woman driver, but maybe she couldn't do it, right? So there was a Haimish guy walking by, and he sees this, and he, you can get through, and he's trying to help her and this and that. And whatever, right? The kids she clearly can't do it, right? Maybe there's a certain, the Rebbeinu Shalom maybe made like a certain women neshama that women taka don't have that, they can do other things. It says it's nashim bini seira they have. Also, there's nashim daitin Kallus. There's a lot of interesting things in the Gemara. So the kids so this Haimish guy, he says to her, okay, I'll do it, right? She gets out of the car, and I'm directing him. And that's what happened. I was the traffic warden with my sign. I'm taking him out. And now she's going, watch it. You could put the both side. I can put down, not a bus, I could put a tank through there, the spot. Yeah? And I'm going like this, I'm like this. He's laughing because we both know you can do it. Comes out. So who's helping her, right? Who's helping her? Me and Zundel, okay? And the two of them, she drives the car. He says, oh, todarabah. Kids, at that second, she was calling the person, he had a number on his car. That second, the person came back to the car. Oh, la Yehudim. And L'tzarenu, it was a from Yid. It was a from Yid that came back to the car. She started screaming at me, Atam Marim, Zeh Charedim, Zeh Atati. I couldn't hold myself back. I go, who helped you? Who helped you? Right? So she said to me, very right. It's not the point. She's right. When there's a bittul of the chaim, you can have so much chaim. You have so much chaim. It was a zeifel chaim, that this is a woman that, she would have went home today and told her dog or whatever, we spoke about the shia, right? You don't know how good the chavedim are and how good they are, and a zeifel chaim. But he was mevatel that chaim. But so it's not fair. That's right. You have to. Chayin is a big mile in Klal Yisrael. Chayin is a big mile. We're not trying to get close to the goyim, but we want them to have a dugma and to have a tzura. The Chayin campaign. No, it's a big thing. All right. Good Shabbos. Let's give 1 second.